International Women's Day. Hi, Christine. How are you?
Oh, good. A little bit underslept, actually. I took vitamin D last night, like about 10 o'clock. Big mistake. Just the whole night. And I was so tired, but I couldn't sleep. And I watched, the darkness turn to light morning. Then my son was making like a racket going off to school. So I just felt quite sore throat and really quite sick.
Back to school day, isn't it, for the kids?
Yeah, it's a bit of a relief. I was, seeing it as like I had to entertain my son and I had to give him, but now he's got something from school, so I can just like sit back a bit, and sort of see to myself and see to trying to, do certain things.
I think a lot of parents feel like that. I think they're worn out.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's not just like having a really, really long summer holiday. It's all the worries that come along with COVID and the crisis and lockdown and everything else. I just got my letter to book my vaccination through the door.
Oh, God.
F you, Bill Gates of hell.
Not allowed to say we'll get the old channel crashed if we say it. Yeah. Well,
I'm
say
doing
no
the
more.
Alex Jones bit.
Yeah.
Oh, so you've not had a good night.
No,
How did your son feel about going to school then? Was he excited?
very pleased. Yeah, very pleased. He was bored,
Oh, the pants be out there. I mean, they're full of energy, kids. They want to get out, do stuff. I mean, I say kids, you know what I mean? Teenagers are very sociable creatures. So, anyway, I was thinking that today's subject, we should talk about International Women's Day and the status of women, not just here in England, in the world, what's generally going on with women. I noticed on social media that this year International Women's Day just seems to have exploded worldwide, everywhere, all around the globe, which is nice to see. I mean, in the past, personally, it's always passed me by because there seem to be International Women's Day things going on, but I'm a feminist and I never heard naff all, but about anything that was happening. So it seemed to be a bit of an enigma. But it's probably going to be mocked by some people. But I think it's important, especially in the context of right now, because the domestic violence bill is going through Parliament.
What does that mean?
So there's a domestic violence bill going through Parliament at the moment. There's so many different sections to it. I think it's taking them a while to bring it into law. But it's going to address all the shortcomings of the current domestic violence legislation, such as like they're looking at things like how abuse carries on after you've left your partner.
Right.
So they can carry on abusing you through the family courts.
Right.
And issue with the kids. They can abuse you through the internet. Obviously, that's an obvious one. Yeah. But there's many ways the abuse can carry on, so you're not like totally free. So that's one aspect. But
yeah, what did you think about yesterday's podcast with Sarah Adams? The energy of being attracted to your abuser, which I've had, and I know women get oh, you're attracted to men like that, but last night I was looking at narcissistic abuse group on Facebook, and women in there, it does seem like a bit depressing and like a bit they're sitting in victim zone, and but well, if I've never thought that before, but I began to see it that way. But I think, as I was saying yesterday to Sarah about having that part of you that's attracted to the abuser. I mean, what do you think about that?
I think there's several aspects to this. Because it used to be, and somebody said this to me recently, I think I mentioned it on another show, that women who get abused look for men to abuse them, which is horrendous. Now, I don't think Sarah's saying that. Sarah's work got on another level, but that was a generally held belief in society that kind of brushed off any responsibility anybody had. And it was misogynistic because it's basically blaming the victim. No, the man hasn't got any responsibility. It's a stupid woman.
Well, having said that, we are attracted to abusers, so it's like true, isn't it?
Well, I think it's more complex than that. Right, I'll listen to what Sarah said, and it's to do with like going back to like childhood and trauma, and how you're psychologically, as a result of that, what you're psychologically comprised of. I think she had a point. In domestic violence education, with domestic violence recovery, they tell you that the reason why you've ended up again with the same problem is because you're vulnerable. Do you remember me talking about the shark cage? Do you remember that?
No.
Right. So when you do the freedom program, you learn about having a shark cage. So if you think about it, if you're out there as a single woman in the world of dating or meeting guys or whatever, or a woman meeting another woman or a man meeting another man, and you haven't got your shark cage up because you've been in an abusive relationship, so you've been abused in childhood, so you haven't got that protection around you that gives you boundaries, gives you criteria for filtering out what you will and won't put up with. Because if you're used to things not being right and you think that's normal, you'll accept bad behaviour. And if you're used to people being horrible to you or whatever, or bullying you, then you'll think that's normal. And it can be on a deep psychological level. So you have to learn to build a shark cage around yourself. So first of all, you're very cautious about who you get in a relationship with, and you check out the behaviour. You don't just accept somebody else's behaviour sort of willy-nilly. So that's what I mean by the shark cage bit. So there's that. There's not having the defences that you would have if you were functioning emotionally healthily, which isn't your point. You've been a victim. Isn't your fault, sorry. You've been a victim in whatever form. So it's a matter of education, learning, building your self-esteem up, learning what is a healthy relationship, like I've read out of the Living with the Dominator book in the past on the show. And then you're more equipped. But then if you look at this from another angle, there's this belief that empathic people, and especially empathic women, attract narcissistic abusers, in the sense that from an pure energy level, an esoteric level, they're attracted to you because they can like feed on you because you're empathic, because you're kind, and they will cause havoc in your life, upset you, or whatever they do.
Yeah, and didn't also Sarah say about that, about oh God, I forgot what it was now. Something about if you vibrate on that, you still got it in you, that pattern, that energy.
Yeah.
That's it, storing the trauma. So if you store the trauma and hold on to it, then other abusers can sense and they do it, which is interesting about my last partner who punched me on the leg when I just kept him waiting, like literally 1 minute on the phone when I was going to meet him. And then because I was in his car and he locked the car doors and went skidded off into the Irish countryside, I couldn't say anything really, well, I went into victim mode because if I'd gone into aggressor mode, God knows what would have happened. And we went to a pub and had lunch, and he started saying, "Oh, you got a scar on your nose. Is that where?" And it was actually. It's where a boyfriend came at me with a knife and slashed my nose. So I don't know how relevant that was.
Well, Well, very relevant. No, I think she's right. I think you do store it in you. That's why it's important, if you can, to try and first you need to learn about what's happened to you and all the aspects of that. Then you need to learn how to recover. And then you're managing what's happened to you. You can manage how it affects you, and you can manage how it affects your future and your future relationships. Whereas before it's just there, like she says, and it's sitting there. And because, I mean, it's like being in a car accident, something like that, isn't it? Or having an accident. It impacts you. Excuse me. It impacts you on several levels. It's a horrible memory. It is. And that is really vile, saying that about, oh, that scar on your nose is that, but that's horrible. That's not a nice person. You don't say that to somebody. He was trying to make you feel small. So that's abusive. I mean, that's abuse. He was an abusive man. So yeah, so there's several aspects of this, and I think she's right on that level.
And I think you have to see abuse. Like I was talking to like a guy from the past the other day, and I sent him a picture of me, so we could catch up. And he went, oh, he said to me in like a sort of long email, the comment, what was it? Oh, the lockdown causes aging. No wonder you've aged. And I thought, hang on, mate. That's not something you say to someone. Even if they looked like 200 years old, you just don't say that. You just don't. And I thought there's a bitch slap, and a lot of men, even my own son, yesterday, we drove around. I've been driving him round. He plays the radio as a teenager, so I've been driving for 4 hours a day. I'm exhausted, and so we were out driving, and round and round the Heathrow bloody, edges of Heathrow, and we stopped at a garage. He went in to get some food, and I went, oh, hang on a sec. And I was looking at a YouTuber, had done YouTubes and mentioned me. So I feel I have to monitor. I don't know why I just don't leave it. But anyway, I was monitoring, and he went, oh my God, how lonely can you get? And I thought, what? What's that got to do with being lonely? And I thought, he's learned probably of Paul, that bitch mouth kind of thing, I don't really care for it. I think men more and more these days are getting that, what you would call bitch mouth, where you would get it from a bitchy girl, they would say, my mum like it. As I was going off to school as a kid, she would say something like, oh, your hair, oh, it's sticking out in the front, looks cowlick, or something like that. Oh, are you going to wear that skirt?
Someone undermined you. That was your mum, was it?
Yeah, she'd say, oh, you're wearing that skirt, oh, it shows your stomach that you look pregnant. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's like that.
So it wasn't like, then going, yeah, you look stomach, that's like that, where something when you go, oh, hang on, and they can look bad. They would just say it as a sort of just matter of fact, and like light, like, oh yeah, the lockdown does cause, terrible aging. What, hang on, I just sent you a picture of me. What's that? What's that? And yet you can't, if you come back at that and say, aging, well, I just sent you a picture, mate. I mean, then oh, hang on, you've been an erotic woman, are you? Calm down,
Yeah, it's very misogynistic. I mean, this is why things like International Women's Day are important. Because, right, okay, going back to your son, teenagers can be cruel. I'm not excusing it, but they can be cruel. My eldest son said horrible things to me in the past when he was a teenager. But they do learn from other men, and you're right there. I think when a woman puts herself out there, visibly, on a public platform, and I know she risks having her looks, her body, how she conducts herself, scrutinised. And men don't have that. So that's still going on.
I got Brian Harvey saying I looked fucked Yeah, she might look all right in the 90s, but now she looks cracked. Well, mate, so do you. I mean, not being bitchy, we're all older, and to say, just to say, I would never say that about him. But then I noticed there was a guy on YouTube, a blonde guy, like a bit cockney, and he was sticking up for Daniela after a long, long, long thing. And you want to hear what he says about Brian's appearance, and I thought, well, Brian's got that back because he's always saying things, and he says stuff about and androgyny. He says it's androgyny, androgyny's appearance. I think she looks good. When people own themselves and they look directly in the camera and they're like, I own myself, and I mean, I can't do that, but she does that, and I think she looks attractive. I mean, I do. So I don't know where he's going with doesn't look attractive. I think she looks far, far, far more attractive than Brian, who he doesn't own himself. He's still a boy there inside that, outer, he doesn't own it. She owns it all, which is something that I can't do. And I do admire that in other people, that owning themselves, It's
Yeah.
attractive. It really is attractive. And it doesn't matter then, just because you don't look 20s. Actually, I don't think 20s, I mean, when somebody has that character, that growth inside them, and they own that, and it doesn't matter then about the skin, what is the skin got some wrinkles coming out the side of the eyes? I mean, on some people it just looks good. I mean, I know Tom Hardy's mum, Anne Hardy. She's absolutely gorgeous, and she's got like loads of lines, but she just looks like a goddess,
So are women still defined by their looks and their body? Well, you would think now not as much because women have more economic freedom and they've got good jobs and they can progress and they're in positions of power. There's no doubt about that. You can't argue with that.
Oh.
Completely the opposite to when I was growing up. And we had a careers person saying, do you want to be a nurse or a secretary? And that was our careers person. And that was at a grammar school. And then when we went to a so-called careers fair at the local civic hall, there was a stall for Vickers shipbuilding, which made like the nuclear subs and destroyers and warships and all that. And so we sort of walked up tentatively, and the guy looked at us and said, "Why are you looking? Girls just want to change nappies." So this was the 70s, and I was a young teenager, and I was thinking at the time, this is fucked. What is this? I mean, it was like apartheid looking back. And the thing is, I don't think these generations of young men and men that didn't live through that don't understand what women had to live with in the past.
Oh.
So domestic violence, you didn't have a hope, did you? I think there was Erin Pizzey who started Women's Aid, as I remember. You were up against the medical establishment, the legal establishment, the culture, religion. You're up against those four things that had power and control over your life. So that's not as strong for some women, not all women. Some women choose to follow a religion. That's fine. The important thing is choice. Having a choice of how you live and not having to live a certain way because you're a woman. So following on from what you're saying about men making comments, personal comments, it seems to be still the weapon that you can use against women, and especially women that are in the public eye in whatever capacity like yourself. So, they're not going to say, oh, she wasn't a very good journalist. Oh, I don't like her book, she can't spell or whatever. They're going to say, oh, look at, so there's the thing about a woman getting older. And in that sense, androgyny, she's kind of in that category, isn't she? Because she is older, she's intersex. Why Brian Harvey keeps going on about he wants evidence. What evidence does he want to see exactly? An ultrasound scan inside of her body or something. What's it got to do with him anyway? For God's sake.
I mean, she has wound him up on various times. He could let that go now. He doesn't let things
No.
go. What he's saying about Daniela, I mean, man, that's up to notch. I wouldn't like that. I really wouldn't like that. I really wouldn't like that.
Yeah, I listened to the long one on is it What Is Truth? And
Oh,
he was like, yeah, an 8-hour one.
right.
And have you not heard that one?
No.
Oh, you're mentioned in it.
Oh, what does he say about me? It's
You're part
lovely.
of the conspiracy.
Ew,
Right,
really?
you're part of the conspiracy, and the proof for that is you went on Sean Atwood, and Atwood is part of the conspiracy.
That's
You become friends with
I need
Daniela.
one sec. That's really triggered my anger, actually. One sec. Just need to calm down a little bit. Everything's to do with him, isn't it? Whoa, man. I wish I felt like that, and everything everybody did had just went back to good old me. And people around him aren't really helping him. That was actually about me. Yeah, I'm a person too. My friend Chris Berry D went on there and then came to me and said, "Oh, I've been on this guy." Now I knew in that truth movement that side of it with Anne and whatever there was, all those arguments going on, and I hadn't listened to it. Listen to Chris Berry D. He went on there. Chris and I, we compete with each other. There's like rolling round on the floor. Chris and I competing. He throws a punch, I throw a punch. But we're like, loving, hating, talk to each other all the time. He was like, I went on Chris Berry D. And I'm like, oh, did you? I'm going on there too. It's to talk about Bianchi. So actually, it boiled down to a serial killer in America. It's got absolutely nothing to do with dear old Mr. Harvey over there in the UK. It's got everything to do with two writers who research fighting each other. And that's why I went on to say, hey, Chris, high five, or just, now what are you going to do? And he's now come back to me and he's like, oh, I'm doing a book about the alphabet murders. He knows I've been investigating the alphabet murders for years and years. So it's like, that's between him and me. It's not, it's absolutely nothing to do with anybody else whatsoever. It's really made me angry. It really has, but it shouldn't make me angry. It shouldn't. I should just forgive and just light that little candle and take
I think
take
it's a
that now to
reflection on his mental health. I mean,
No, no, sorry, pop that there. I haven't had any sleep, so I got a bit of a short temper here, so apologies for that. There's nothing wrong with his mental health. I think he is in tip top. I totally disagree with what Daniela said. I think she shouldn't have gone running off to whatever newspaper it was and said what she did. He has got tip top mental health, actually. He has. He just thinks everything comes back to him. We've all been there. We've all been in that, in that space where we think, hang on, this is to do with me. Hang on, that's to do with me. I know, what are those people over there saying about me? That's not mental ill health. No. That's just called the me syndrome. That's called.
So you think it's an act? That he thinks that people want to kill. The ultimate aim of you all conspiring is that you want to kill him. You want him dead. That's what he's saying.
Well, give me a chance. Give me a chance. Okay, in that field of pedophiles and the media, people can die. People can die. So that is bona fide. Sean Hoare was murdered. He was murdered by News International. Daniel Morgan was murdered by News International. So they're killers. Yeah, they're killers. So they are out there. So no, there's nothing mad about that. Okay, that can go on. And I do think he was targeted for some reason. He's saying it's the red rooms. Might have been that, might have been something else. Targeted by Greg Miskew, which is News International, and News International took him down. They're very sinister to look into News International in any kind of deep way. They run really deep, and the police that I dealt with, Operation Wheating, they minded me. I had a minder, DS Michael White, that came round every week, and I had to ring in or come round, vice versa. Sometimes it was one thing, then the other. They thought that I was going to be bumped off. They literally thought that, and they told me, they couldn't say it in words, said with his eyes that Sean Hoare had been bumped off. So when you get into News International world, you get into something that people, I don't think, really see. And I think even knowing that they bump people off, I'm not seeing them clearly. I mean, I'm really I'm really not seeing them clearly, and people say things like, oh, they're, a group of old men, but it just goes deeper into something else. I don't know if it's deeper into the security services or what have you, but, I'm on my own path of finding out why I was in Dundalk rolling around with the commander of the Real IRA. I'm on my own path to see why I was sucked into News International and spat out. And I'm on my own path to see why I personally brought in my boyfriend to News International, and he brought in the phone hacking, John Boyle, and yet he is not mentioned in any book. He is not mentioned anywhere. He is not mentioned. And he's linked with MI6. So that
He's
is
persona non grata in all this, isn't he? I mean, you're right. You never hear that name. You're the only person who's ever said that name in all this about phone hacking.
Oh, I know. And he lives in a, £8 million mansion out in Peasmarsh. Now, I was trying to trace him recently. I'm a private investigator. I can't find him. He's been wiped off everywhere. I can find anyone. I couldn't find him. He was wiped off. So what's gone on there? He's also friends with Paul McCartney. He runs deep. He works for all the MI6 guys who retire. They start their own agencies. It's the commercial arm of MI6. He works for all them as well. Nobody's mentioned that. What the hell? That's a very sort of sexy James Bond angle that you'd think one newspaper would step forward and want to portray. I know James Hanning, ex editor of the Independent on Sunday, he's asking the same questions. And so that goes on. And so for Brian to say I'm somehow, when I'm trying to find all this out, when my life has been, pretty much like somebody taken and smashed against the wall from when I was a baby and put into the Catholic orphanage, and they handed me to pedophiles. And when I wasn't being sexually abused and having to, to my adoptive father as a young, 5 years old, I'm talking 4, 5, 6, 7. Then when I lost my puberty, stopped and just leered at me every day. And then lying face down on the bed and being beaten with a cane. And so I am trying to find out why that went on. Why is it the Roman Catholic Church? What have News International got to do with it? What have MI6 got to do with it? Why was I used as a patsy? All these various things to it. And then Brian comes in and says, well, I'm on their side. No, mate, no. Sorry, it's making me absolutely livid. I know I should calm down, whatever. He's just a man saying these things, but it does make me angry. And then I have to look at myself. I went and spoke to him a lot, and I was trying to help him. And then I have to look to myself and saying, and I did find him attractive. I did think, oh, he's really good looking. I remember saying to people, oh, he's really good looking, and all this kind of stuff. I mean, so there's my sexual attraction to a man who's going to actually talk to me for a long time and confide in me as well, and then turn around and oh, you haven't got a friendship there. I'm going to say you're on the side of what people that have left me how I am now. I mean, I'm on their side. I'm on their side, and they've utterly destroyed me. I mean, they've utterly destroyed me. Absolutely, 100% destroyed. I mean, I just live for my son, and I'm just waiting to die, basically. And I'm on the side of those people that, I mean, sorry, I shouldn't get
No,
annoyed.
it's all right. I'm sorry, but I do think there's mental health going on. I mean, he's so narcissistic. This is what I mean. That wouldn't have crossed his radar, Christine. That wouldn't have crossed his radar about your past, which hasn't been a state secret. You've written about it. And Daniela's part, whatever. He just seems to think that. I mean, that's a new one that he's come out with about they want him dead and they want him killed and all the rest of it. He hasn't talked like that in the past. He's just gone on about Bill Maloney being a phony, basically. And what's that all about?
And well, yeah, as I said, they are Sean Hoare. Nobody talks about it. Sean Hoare
No,
murdered. I mean, he said he went on the phone. This is what annoys me about things like Diana. Something happens with my car, I've been killed, and everybody takes that with a pinch of salt. And something happened to her car, and she's killed. There we go. And also, there was a plan found, wasn't there, where the Russian spy came forward and said there was a plan to kill a Russian diplomat by shining the light in the tunnel, and that's what happened to her. They shone the light in the
well,
face.
she said she'd been told, she'd been tipped off that they were planning to kill her. Now, if in a car accident, now any other member of the public, if that had happened to them and they went to the police and said, look, I've been told people are planning on killing me, and then you died in a car accident by a car, then there'd be an inquiry. I mean, come on. But
and Sean Hoare said they're going to come and get me. They're going to kill me. You know, he was a whistleblower, and God knows what it was that he actually knew.
What did he say, do you think, that got him killed?
Well, he knew about Andy Coulson, but Andy Coulson ended going to prison, so it couldn't have been that. Maybe it was Boyle. Maybe it was Boyle, because Boyle worked for the News of the World for 2 years before they decided to nick his office boy. Now, maybe Sean dealt with John directly, so it could have been that. It could have been he was going to talk about that to Nick Davies, because in the end, Nick Davies didn't mention Boyle.
Yeah, he seems like a bit of a front man.
Well, and interestingly, it goes back to those like sex parties, because those red rooms would be a place that John Boyle would go to. He was involved in all those parties like Rubber Leather Skin 2 and all that, and he was involved with the music business. He had a band, he managed a band, so maybe he knew what's the name of that, E17 and all those. So, and also he was, I would say bisexual, so he was like, half gay, so maybe he knew that Tom Watkins, and he was very involved in that kind of possibly blackmailing MPs, and then it gets linked into politicians and all that sort of
the usual story. I think there's loads to do with the Met Police.
Well, something to do with Sylvia Jones from the BBC was trying to do a documentary on John and said, would I appear on it? Blah, blah, blah. I said, well, I think about it. He's dangerous at the end of the day. And so she then came back to me after a year had passed or whatever and said they'd pulled the plug on it, Channel 4, because of his link to Top Cops. I mean, I didn't know that about him. I knew him pretty well.
Yeah, something... probably the lid will get blown off it one day, but something's gone on. I think it's been going on a very long time. Did you notice
when you get blaming me, what do I do then? Okay, what's the result of that? If I'm stressed out, which I'm stressed out because of my life, because I have to get money in, I have no idea how to earn money. I'm a trained private detective. I'm really good. People don't touch me because of the phone hacking, right? So, and also I can't file copy to newspapers. I ring a newspaper, they will hang up because, phone hacking. Yeah,
You've been blackballed, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been blackballed. So I have to I wake up every day and I think, how do I bring in money? And then it goes around, no idea. How do I bring in money? No idea. How do I bring in money? No idea. And that's how I live in a little weird little case, right? And what have I got? What have I got? Absolutely, apart from going on goddamn Sean Atwood or goddamn anybody that will ask to try and share what's happened to me, to make sense of it, to make sense of it, B, in case somebody comes forward and gives me a key to unlock the mysterious parts of it, which has happened before. I only learned about the Monarch programs because I wrote a book. Somebody came forward. So that's a very powerful way of sharing. Not only do you bring your story out of darkness, and then you get him, and he's got his story, which fair enough, tell it, shout it from the rooftop, but to kind of then to bring in my story and sort of like put me over on the side of the Illuminati side, I mean, that sort of, I don't know, that really gets me, because I'm here struggling with my little legs going as fast as I can. And then what it does, it puts another survivor of all this, whatever it is, into the darkness. And what does the other survivor do? If the other person has a bigger audience than them, they back down. I mean, they back down. Of course they back down. I mean, I don't want sort of some people go, oh, you've hurt him, I love him, and sort of come in and punch me in the face or something like that, So it shuts me up, doesn't it? Shuts me up, and then powers that be have got what they want. I mean, I've got a powerful story. I'm the only link to Boyle.
That you are.
I'm shut down. I shut up. I'm persona non grata. I'm supposed to think, actually, my face is too ugly to get out there to ever put it, on the screen. I won't be doing that. Or people think I'm bad. Or won't be doing that. That kind of thing. That's how it operates. That's how it operates, and that's how the truth movement is shite, because the people in it police each other. People in it shame each other.
That's very true.
I see it. I see it done to other people. I don't know why Ian. I like Ian. He's a good-looking guy. I talk to him now and again. I don't know why he started upcasting all that stuff about what Tara Joyce had said. I think that had sort of, she hadn't been making videos. I don't think there was any need to.
Why? What did she say?
Huh?
What did she say?
I don't know what she said. I don't know the reaction, but there's always bickering in the truth movement. I mean, why don't people that have got stories come forward? Okay. They start selling the stories. Everybody else greets them with like, acceptance, and then they go back, and then another person who have got their story, they come forward and tell it, but no slagging, no saying negative things about other people. I mean, I think that would work a lot.
Well, I think particularly women in the truth movement should be supporting each other, and I think women are the worst for slagging each other off. I mean, it's ridiculous what people go around saying about each other. And she said this. I mean, it's like a sort of a bitch fest, but on YouTube.
Yeah, it is.
Why? There are bigger fish to fry. There's all kinds of bloody things going on in the world.
The people fighting each other, and then the energy, gets the energy. It sucks people's energy. I mean, I was listening to. I don't know Daniela very well at all. I don't know her from.
There you go, Brian. She doesn't know Daniela very well, in spite of what you think.
Exactly. When I was talking to her on Twitter recently about Herbalife and things she does, but it made me think, well, I wonder who she is as a woman. So I was watching her, looking, because I haven't followed her story, and I was looking, and she's been gang raped, and her story reminds me of me. I've been in those situations with men, bad men, and you've got to give over sex, basically, and art rape just to get out the door. And she's not had a good life. I don't know what happened with her last, was it husband, and she seems to be alone now. I don't know what happened there, but her life hasn't been a better.
She's living in Wales, I believe.
Right, and I don't think you could ever say that she's a perpetrator of anything, because she's been slapped about too much. If somebody's been slapped about too much, they're not perpetrators. It's bloody obvious. I mean, it's bloody obvious. If someone's had a life full of pain, they're not on the side of the Illuminati. I mean, they're just not. They're just not. I mean, it's just so obvious, and it annoys me that people come in and they it's like Miles Johnson is one. He's always he's always putting up people are this, people are that. I mean, he does that a lot. He does it a lot.
Yeah, that's true. And then there are people that sort of like go out on search and destroy missions, like Marie Alley. Although
I don't know about her, what she's doing, but yeah, I don't want to go
year more. When she was. Yeah.
I don't. I don't want to become someone who's now mentioning names and saying this. I mean, I don't know her, and
I'm not slacking her off. I'm just saying that she wasn't so much bitchy, but she had criticisms of people, and she did it in a very amusing way. So she had a different sort of angle. Because you just reminded me when you said that about Miles.
No, if someone's got humour, then it's great. But Miles hasn't got humour. He announced with Kerry Cassidy that I killed Max Spears. So I've been here before, and I've been here before, and all it does, it just makes you, after a while, you get so stressed about it, so stressed of like seeing, oh, is this person saying this mean thing or that mean thing, and then it just brings you down. Then every day, and what do you think to do? You think, I'm not going to speak anymore. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to mix in with other people. And it's a shame because the truther community should be a powerful little bullet, winging its way towards where it should go. The people that do live a different life from the rest of us, the people that do have it sweet and, all the way through and everything goes rosy. Well, hang on, why are they living those lives while the rest of us have really quite terrible lives with so much pain and agony and fear? Why is that? I mean, are the others floating above on the top? Are they sucking on the rest of us? Are they sucking our, energy? Are they energy vampiring our pain? What's actually going on there? But then when, the people that are in pain, that have been battered from day one, try and tell their story, and other people come in and then they batter the shit out of them. I mean, how possibly can anybody get any illumination?
But you have to look at the truth movement honestly, don't you? And there is a large faction of con artists and charlatans. Some people are just plain nuts, and then you've got people that have had genuine experiences, rightly or wrongly. They've had experiences, out of the ordinary. I think Deborah Hatzwell is a good example of that. She's not in the truth movement, but she's a crypto person, and she had an unusual experience when she was a teenager that changed her life, and now she's running this thing where people can report, ordinary members of the public that have had really weird, sometimes traumatic experiences, can report things to her. We had her on the show, and didn't we, and interviewed her. So you have to take into consideration that there's some very very dysfunctional people in this movement whose aims are not honourable, and they're not out to illuminate anybody. They're out to con money out of you.
I hear you, but look at Mark Johnson. I mean, he's not really about money. I mean, he's not mad. I mean, why does he turn around and he called me evil? Last time I got a text from him, he said, "Oh, you're really evil," and I was like, "Name me what I've done to you, Miles. I mean, name me what I've done to you." I mean, but he does that, and he'll go on his show and say something like that, and it will be like, I don't know, what did he say to me last? Just like, I don't know, in league with Mike.
Whatever it is. Why are you evil this time? Who have you? I mean, are you a mafia, secret mafia woman, and you order all these people to be bumped off?
I don't know what it was I was supposed to have done, but he puts that out there. And that one thing, what was that? Murdered Max in league with Aquino, somebody that I was trying to look at.
Oh, you're in with Aquino big time. Yeah, he was coming round your house, wasn't he, for a cup of coffee?
Yeah.
And a chat about your careers of evil. Well, that's what you've had, a career of evil. So send your CV to your updated CV to the job centre. They'll let you photocopy it there, I believe, for free. So it's bollocks, isn't it? Utter bollocks. I mean, these people need to get a fucking life. I mean, is this what you're going to look back on your life and think, oh yeah, I spent 20 years basically being an arsehole and making videos about greys and scuttlers or whatever? Or, I mean, all right, there's people should be allowed to express how they feel as long as it's not hurting people and all the rest of it. But Jesus, I don't know. I just think right, all right, I'm not in your position. I can't tell you how to feel. But looking at it as an outsider, I just think you should distance yourself from it and think, well, they're just basically a bunch of idiots, who just go around spouting all kinds of nonsense. So I'm not going to take any notice of them. They can Twitter on to their heart's content.
I think the good thing is to not listen, but then sort of curious. It's like being trolled, and if you're trolled somewhere, and then you go and see, and someone says something really
right. Are any of these people established authors like you are? No.
No.
Have they had a career in the newspapers? No.
No.
Have they done serious investigations of worth and merit, in the sense that they were valuable information because the IRA were a terrorist organisation that were bombing England and other places for years, and you investigated them. So that was very rare. Have they done that? No.
No.
No. Miles asked for money for what? His shed? What is it, Marie? He said you put out an appeal for money for a new shed and you got the money or something.
Wow, really?
Right?
Did he? I've never been given money.
Yeah, this is the other thing. Oh God. Well, I mean, what about the 5G shield that was really just a memory stick with a sticker on it that was being sold for 350 nicker? That's a good one, isn't it? Oh yeah, that's a recent one, that.
Wow.
And don't sell them on eBay. Yeah, don't sell them on eBay, because eBay will blow your little con artist job up a quick time, mate. And this is somebody in Britain who people follow and put their faith in. I mean, for F's sake. It's a shame, we can't do like an expose thing like Esther Ranson used to do, but about like the community people that are doing like really big con things just to get money out of people. But that's terrible. But people do it. People will buy it. So really, they're not playing with the full deck. So these people are slagging you off. If they weren't doing this, they would be working in a fairground or something. Nothing against fairground workers, it's a lifestyle, whatever. But they wouldn't be having top jobs, would they? Let's face it. They wouldn't be having top jobs with big responsibilities or making a difference to the society or community for the better. So really, it's like being told that you were a merciless killer by a bunch of dweebs. So think, well, F you, get a life. I've got one. Why don't you get one? Try it instead of selling bloody memory sticks to people with a sticker on saying that they're going to shield you from 5G. Yeah, whatever. I think I might start. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to market a bra that protects you from 5G, right? And I'll put these little magnets in the front of the cups, a bit Madonna-like, maybe put a couple of tassels on or whatever, a bit fancy, and market them as stopping 5G. See, I bet you I'll have some sales. No, but it's the equivalent of, innit? You know what I mean? I know it's silly, but it's the equivalent of. So, I'd like them to feel of themselves. I mean, carrying on, doing what you do. Talking about the phone hacking. I mean, you're going to be on telly soon, aren't you? Anyway, in that documentary, when's that going to be on?
There's two. There's one coming. Yeah, there's two coming out, and then there's a TV series. I mean, I don't know if they'll leave me out of it. They might leave me out of it. I don't know. I do feel a bit like a kipper that's being ironed. There's a girl as well, Jenny Evans, a Down Dog Film. She's doing a TV series about female private detective that work for the newspapers. I mean, I just think, I just feel a bit. I mean,
and she's interviewed you.
Yeah, she did interview me, and it's come back to me that she's doing that. And I just think, what am I? A sort of sanitary towel or something, It just makes me feel. And I was thinking back to Bridge, I had an agent from Peter Fraser's Dunlop, Robert Kirby. He was working with me on a novel. The novel's still not published. And he said to me, don't react, but I think somebody's used your story in a book. And I said, what, who? She said, the Bridget Jones woman, Helen Fielding. And it was a book called The Strange Life of Olivia Jules. And so I got it, read it, and it was my life story. She changed it a bit. It was an orphan who grew up in an orphanage, then was adopted late in life. You could say like Queen's Gambit. I mean, same thing. And then she became a private detective out of the kids' home. And then she, after working for the private investigations, some of the intelligence services agencies, she then went on to work for the Sunday Times. And then when she was working for the Sunday Times, she had an affair with a leading terrorist, head of a terrorist organisation.
Oh yeah, it does sound familiar, doesn't it?
The whole kit and caboodle.
Can you sue somebody for that? Do you think?
Well, you see, you've got to prove it. See, got to prove it. And I rang Gillian Aitken, her agent, and said, well, this is my book. I'm like writing it, as a novel based on true life. And he goes, well, when did you write yours? And I went, hang on, no, I've lived it. It's my life story there. I said, where does she get that information? That's my life's. Where does she pick it from? And he said she got it from the private investigations world in London. And I said that it's very close knit if you're talking about.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I know. And I said, well, I'm not happy about it because I'm in the middle of doing a book. And why would, if a book's come out like that, they're not going to publish another book like it. And they're just not. They don't give a damn that, I've lived it out. It's the public. And so I knew she'd killed my book then. And I said to him, well, I'm not really happy. He said, look, I'll investigate this. Put the phone down, rang my agent, Robert Kirby from Peter Fraser's Dunlop, shouted him down, shouted him out. Robert Kirby from Peter Fraser's Dunlop came back to me, said, I don't want to work with you anymore. Sorry about that. I said, hang on, why? And he goes, oh, you're after a story. I said, what do you mean? He said, you're after a story for the press. I said, I don't work for the press anymore. Because the phone hacking, I'm persona non grata. And he said, oh, you just want to write a story about, and I'm not happy about that. And that's it. You and I are through. You're not with this agent. And I was dropped after working with him for about 3 years, on the book, and it was just
oh God, somebody had some clout then, didn't they?
Gillian Aitken.
Bloody hell.
He had some clout. I don't know what was said, but he got Robert to drop me. And Robert, I was out in Belfast living, and Robert got on a plane and flew to Belfast and met me there. That's how. And he sat down with me. We were having dinner. He said, I love your book. And same book now is sitting in my drawer. He said, I love your book. He said, you've got what it takes to be, a top thriller writer. I want to sign you to Peter Fraser's Dunlop and let me come out there. So came out there to Belfast. We met in a restaurant. As soon as I walked in, he said, you don't mind if I get straight on with business, do you? So I said, no, feel free. So he said, and then he started talking about the book straight away, where he wanted it to go and, my career. I went off, started, I sent it back and fro, whatever. And then in the middle of this back and fro, and we got on really, really well. And we had long discussions about things like Vanilla Sky and all that. I was on my way and it was something I worked on since I was smaller. And then this book came out. This book came out by Helen Fielding. And I approached Gillian Aitken. And what can you do? I mean, just sit with that. It just felt weird as he told me. I remember it now. I was sitting on Richmond Green in my car, and I just remember when he told me it, and he went through what, and then I went and got the book, and it was like, oh, this isn't right. It just thought, and it's not only was it right, she'd finished my book. It's like a story, if your story, you write a story, goes in. If somebody else does the same story on the same thing, your story's, they're not going to say, oh, it's okay, you did it first, or it's okay, you've lived it out. They don't give a shit. It's like that book's come out. She's a powerful writer and, powerful voice, certainly more powerful than mine.
Like two people have come forward and said that they wrote The Matrix.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a black lady in America and a man in California. And they've done they've made quite a big thing of it. I think there was a court case with the black lady, but I don't know what happened. But I mean, if you went around talking about this, if Helen Fielding threatened to sue you, then how would she make her case? Because you could prove prove that was your life. You could say, well, I've got all the evidence. This is my life.
Yep. All the stories on the Real IRA, all my bylines in the Sunday Times, all my pay slips as Warner Detective Agency, all my paper slips from the orphanage, and the whole thing. Yeah. But then she would say, "Oh, well, I just heard it. I heard it from someone. I didn't know it was true." I mean, you just wouldn't get anywhere. I mean, I was writing a story, about the serial killer Bianchi. I was writing a story about, getting to know him and what was all about, and somebody, why I needed to explore somebody like him. Well, I'm an investigator, same as Chris Berry do, but I wrote the whole thing up in a book, showed it to an American director, and he said, "Oh, that's really interesting, the relationship between the two." And he said, "You should get Kate Winslet to play you, make your son a bit older, 11 or something, and then kind of explore that relationship." And I was sitting there one day watching Labor Day, and I'm like, Hang on, hang on." It's like ideas are stolen. I mean, I was hired once. In fact, it was a job that John Boyle gave me for a lawyer in London, and it was somebody that wrote about a boy wizard going to a special wizard school, and he was an orphan. People use the orphan thing a lot. He was
Yeah.
an orphan, and it got rejected, and it was Chris Little, the same agent as J.K. Rowling's agent. I mean, and he said, "Hang on, that was my book." So there's a thing where you get people that haven't got the clout of the, or maybe haven't got the education, or maybe haven't got the eloquence, and they come forward with their book, and someone else who's, also maybe in with an agent, in with a publisher, and they will take what they've written and they will give it to the other person
Bloody
wholesale.
hell, that is terrible. And
Oh yeah,
she's a millionaire, isn't she now? And that was somebody else's idea.
it was someone else's idea.
Bloody
Yeah.
hell. That
And
is, well, I never bought the story about her being a single mum and writing in a cafe in Edinburgh. I mean, they always blag things like that, don't they? They do that in the music business. They say, "Oh yeah, they were discovered singing in the laundrette." My ass, they were.
yeah, it's like that is to get the working class, working class, working class. And so everybody thinks, wow, just a working. So they focus on that. But if you get
Yeah.
somebody that's actually studied the classics, and oh, she studied it, all of a sudden she's not working class anymore, she's middle class. You get the old PhD and the old degree in there. I mean, you're not working class anymore. And if they'd have just pushed that story, suddenly, it wouldn't be so hard to believe about this poor schmuck who had actually thought of it. Anyway, he didn't win. He had a lot of powerful lawyers. They hired me, and I was busy going around chatting to all these people that had worked at the agency basically, and all these other things. But I thought at the time, this is not going to get anywhere, and it didn't get anywhere. It just didn't.
Anything that makes a lot of money has a lot of power and clout behind it, doesn't it? The people behind the scenes, they're not going to let you get in the way of their money. It's like the music business and all the dodgy, shady things that go on there.
Yeah. So I just feel a bit of a 100% victim. And I mean, I know people say, like Brian Barrett, that is the magician. He says, you're sitting in victim. But, if things happen to you like that over and over, and then you kind of do, and then, other people like Brian Harvey come forward and say, you're the bad guy. It's like after you've sort of got so many bruises, you can hardly see your skin. It's like you think, hang on, and then you feel even more of a victim, and you just want to, like, end it all, really. That's how you start thinking, is it worth living? Is it worth getting up and facing the day? You start to feel the whole world is against you, and that's why now, when I hear Brian talk, I just can't. I can't listen. And I used to have so much feeling for him, and so much emotion and empathy. I can't listen to him now because I just, hang on, mate. I don't deserve this. I mean, I just don't deserve it. You know.
You don't. No, you don't. Nobody does. Well, I don't know. Some people are assholes, aren't they? But yeah, it's they like, yeah, you're right about the working class thing. They like to spin it, don't they? They like to spin that you can have that dream of making it big, coming out of your council estate and living the high life, and so buy these records, you'll be closer, or buy this film or whatever, you'll be closer to your dream, and it's a pile of cack.
Oh yeah, but she had studied the classics, the Greeks, and she was up there. She was a middle class woman. She was friends with literary agents. So that's how he then came to her. With that idea. Because she was friends there. You have to be middle class to, have a friend that's a literary agent. Do you have to mix in circles, and it's all about these people like John Boyle, who, he's friends with Paul McCartney.
They've got it
You
stitched up, haven't they? They've totally got it stitched up.
well, they have got it stitched up. You go to Eton, you go, you mix in with all these, you get the education, you can speak eloquently. I mean, look at Piers Morgan. I know nobody likes Piers Morgan, but I was listening to him the other day speaking, and I was like, I told you, he was talking about Yemen, and I said to my son, I said, how come I don't speak like him? Listen to me. I think I'm just not eloquent, and it's like the working classes are kept over to one side, and the middle classes are kept to another side. It's like, reading in the Times about the teenagers going back to school. They're treated like so delicately, do this, do that. And, I was sent to my son, whereas a working class kid, they're busy running around council estates where there's people wielding knives. And, they sort of grow up in houses where they see violence going on and alcoholism. And it's like brutal. And the two different worlds, you get your Piers Morgan, and if you're hothoused and you're like, a child is like a little lily flower, if you're allowed to spread and grow, you're like, your life is about, I want to learn about the world. I'm going to be eloquent. I'm going to have a huge vocabulary. I'm going to put it across like that. But then in the working class side, you've got the sort of Lily trying to grow up, and it's like it's squashed and it's battered by life, sees the nasty side of life, and it's like its leaves go black and it doesn't get a chance. And there is the other leaf, and it's has a chance to grow little delicate veins on it, so it's seen. And then you end up with a Piers Morgan who's out there. Piers Morgan is living his life. He does this, he does that, he talks in a way, and then you get other people like, I mean, I saw Daniela go on his show, and he says to her, he says, oh, your life's like a car crash, I hate seeing it, can't you get yourself together? And I feel like, hang on, mate, I mean, these people don't realize that they live in a totally different stratosphere. They're not better than us. Oh yeah, it's not better than us, but they see it as they're better than us. They see it as, oh my God, life is like a breeze, and but can't you do it? Can't you do life? I can do life. Can't you do life there? I mean, you're not even speaking as fancy as I am, and that's the way it is. It's like an us and them and an us and them. That's why
but
when
they want to be like us, really.
Well, yeah, that's why when you get Brian Harvey putting down, someone like Daniela and also me, and saying on that side, well, no, because you can tell somebody on that side, you can tell them by the life they're having. If you're having a life that is pain free, that is like scooping caviar, well, then chances are you are on that dark side. And I know it's a horrible thing to say about people, but I learned that when I first came in the truth community, and people were talking about cult and cult. They were calling it cult, and they're saying people in this neighborhood that I was living in, the wives, oh, they're cult wives. And I see it. It's like they're sort of they're on that dark side. They're usually atheists. And it's like, if they are, they're no sort of threat in any way. And if you're a Christian or, a Muslim, and you're clawing for God, you tend to get that sort of battering. You get that, you taste, because they want to make you dark. If you're dark already, it doesn't matter. So you can go and have this sweet little life that's like skipping around, like Piers's life, where you're allowed to grow, you're allowed to flourish, you're allowed to have those little tiny, little delicate veins on your body. But then you get someone like Daniela who claws for Jesus and God, and she's called an asshole on major TV. Can't you get your life together? And I have to say, I did admire her. She gave a little smile and she spoke back to him, and I thought, yeah, that's good, because I wouldn't have. I would have said, yeah, you're right.
With
You're a piece of shit.
JW and Katie Price as well. Anybody that's working class, especially a woman who's got an accent, and she makes it in whatever way, glamour modelling, just being a reality TV star, whatever.
Georgia Caper, she's lovely. I spoke to her on the phone when I worked for the Sunday Mirror. She is lovely.
But you are not allowed. You're not allowed that because you're working class and you've got an accent and you're a woman and you have to stay down.
Exactly. I've got to go. My son's school has just rung and I don't know why. So
all right.
Probably he's refusing to wear a mask or something. I best go and ring them back and
okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, listeners.
Well, thank you for and that was a good show, and I hope we didn't offend anybody. And apologies if we did. And thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Jana.
Nothing wrong with a lot of emotion. All right. Okay. Good luck. I hope everything's all right at school. Thanks, listeners. See you next time. Bye.